Whether you realize it or not, the languages we speak are changing every day. As English evolves, many words and phrases become outdated, their original meanings fading over time. Some have sparked controversy, while others have taken on entirely new meanings. Today, we're revisiting some familiar expressions to uncover where they came from and what they originally meant. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the Descriptions channel and let us know in the comments which strange word origins you'd like us to explore next. Let's start with the phrase, run amok. Today we use it to describe someone or something that's wildly out of control. A rhinoceros escaping a zoo and charging through downtown, that's running amok. But the phrase actually comes from 16th century Indonesia. European travelers described a group of warriors known as the Amok, who would charge into crowds in violent attacks. In 1672, English poet Andrew Marvell even wrote, "He runs amok, stabbing every man he meets." Over time, the phrase lost its connection to those warriors and simply came to mean behaving in a violent or uncontrollable way. Another common expression is basket case. Today, it's used for someone who's emotionally overwhelmed or unable to cope with stress. Originally, however, the term had a much darker meaning. During World War I, it referred to soldiers who had supposedly lost all of their limbs in battle and were believed to need transportation in a basket. Although historians aren't certain this actually happened, the rumor spread so widely that the U.S. Surgeon General publicly denied that any such patients existed. Eventually, the phrase evolved into the figurative expression we know today. The word moron has also changed dramatically. Most people now use it as a simple insult meaning fool. But in the early 20th century, psychologist Henry H. Goddard introduced it as a medical classification for people with intellectual disabilities. His theories, based on the now discredited movement of eugenics, divided people into categories such as idiots and morons. Those ideas have long since been rejected, and today the word survives only as an everyday insult. If someone asks, "Cat got your tongue?" they're simply wondering why you're so quiet. The origin isn't completely clear. One theory claims it dates back to ancient Egypt, where criminals supposedly had their tongues cut out and fed to cats. Another, more widely accepted explanation points to the British Royal Navy. Sailors who were whipped with the painful cat o' nine tails were often left speechless afterward, leading to the expression. Another phrase with a surprising history is grandfathered in. Today, it refers to being exempt from a new rule because you were already covered under the old one. Its roots lie in voting laws in the American South during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Some states required literacy tests, poll taxes, or property ownership to vote. However, if your grandfather had been eligible to vote before the Civil War, you could skip those requirements. While it sounded harmless, the real purpose was to prevent many African Americans from voting while protecting poor white voters. The phrase eventually lost its political meaning and became a general legal term for exemptions. You've probably greeted someone with, "Long time no see." Although it sounds like broken English, that's actually part of its history. Some researchers believe it came from a literal translation of a Chinese expression with the same meaning. Others argue it was popularized through Native American speech patterns in American literature. The phrase appeared in print around 1900 in novels featuring Native American characters saying, "Long time no see you." Regardless of its exact origin, it quickly became part of everyday English. Another old-fashioned expression is hoity-toity. Today, it describes someone who's arrogant or snobbish. When it first appeared in the 17th century, however, it referred to people behaving in a noisy, overly excited manner. Writer Sir Roger Lestrange used it while criticizing people dancing enthusiastically. Over time, its meaning shifted from loud and energetic to proud and self-important. Then there's thrown under the bus. We use it whenever someone sacrifices another person to protect themselves. The phrase first appeared in print in a 1980 issue of the Financial Times during discussions of British politics. A few years later, singer Cyndi Lauper famously remarked, "You are either the bus or you're under it," helping popularize the expression. Some also believe it may have existed earlier in minor league baseball, where players constantly traveled by bus, though no one knows for certain. Another unusual phrase is fuzzy wuzzy. Most people recognize it from the nursery rhyme, Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear, but its true origin is very different. The term was popularized by Rudyard Kipling in his poem Fuzzy Wuzzy. In it, British soldiers referred to the Hedendorah warriors of Sudan by that nickname because of their distinctive curly hair. Although the term was originally tied to colonial warfare, today, most people only know it from the children's rhyme. The phrase Paddy Wagon also has a controversial past. In the early 1900s, large numbers of Irish immigrants arrived in the United States. At the same time, harmful stereotypes unfairly associated Irish people with crime. Police wagons used to transport arrested suspects became known as paddy wagons, with paddy being a common nickname for Irish men. While the phrase is still occasionally heard today, its ethnic origins make it controversial. Almost everyone knows the counting rhyme Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Although the spelling varies around the world, the rhythm has remained remarkably consistent. Linguists believe the rhyme dates back hundreds of years to England and Wales, where shepherds used similar counting sounds while keeping track of their sheep. The exact words have changed over time, but the distinctive rhythm has survived for centuries. Another expression with a surprising history is peanut gallery. Today, it usually refers to people offering unwanted comments or criticism from the sidelines. The phrase dates back to at least 1867, when it described the cheapest seats in theaters, where audiences were often the loudest and most disruptive. Over time, it became associated with hecklers rather than the seats themselves. Because of some of its historical associations, the expression has also carried controversial connotations. One phrase surrounded by myth is rule of thumb. Many people believe it comes from an old law allowing a husband to beat his wife with a stick no thicker than his thumb. However, historians have found no evidence that such a law ever existed. While the phrase appeared centuries ago, its true origin remains uncertain. The most likely explanation is that a thumb simply served as a rough measuring tool before standardized rulers became common. Next is the familiar cheer, hip hip hooray. Its origin is still debated. One theory links it to an anti-Semitic chant used in Europe centuries ago, while another suggests it developed from cheerful cries used by sailors in the 17th century. Some historians also believe military drill instructors shouted similar phrases after successful exercises. Whatever its true beginning, today it has become nothing more than a joyful celebration. If you've ever exclaimed, "Now wait just a cotton-picking minute," you've used another phrase with complicated roots. The expression comes from the physically demanding work of picking cotton. Spending long hours harvesting cotton often left workers' fingers sore, raw, and covered with calluses. Because of that difficult labor, cotton picking became associated with something unpleasant or frustrating. In the United States, the phrase later developed racial overtones because of its connection to slavery and sharecropping, making many people avoid using it today. Finally, we have the modern expression, drink the Kool-Aid. Today, it's used to describe someone who blindly follows an idea, a leader, or an organization without questioning it. Sadly, its origin comes from one of the darkest events in modern history. In 1978, cult leader Jim Jones instructed members of the People's Temple in Jonestown, Guyana, to drink a fruit-flavored beverage mixed with cyanide. Some obeyed willingly, while many others were forced. Around 900 people died in the tragedy. Although the drink involved wasn't actually traditional Kool-Aid in every account, the phrase became permanently linked to unquestioning obedience. Language is constantly changing. Words and expressions that seem ordinary today often have surprising, controversial, or even tragic histories hidden beneath the surface. Some have completely changed meaning over the centuries, while others still carry reminders of the time and culture that created them. The next time you hear someone say, "Run Amok," "basket case," "long time no see," or "thrown under the bus," you'll know there's much more behind those words than meets the eye. If you enjoyed learning the strange origins of these everyday expressions, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments which phrase you'd like us to explore next.